We knew what it was. We knew it was bad. And I was in the nosedive of my condition, and they put me on life support. So I was on a ventilator. They sedated me super heavily because they needed to do what they needed to do and to monitor me. So I was essentially in a medically induced coma.
Connect with us on the Emotion Wellness Podcast for a transformative journey of human connection. Witness personal stories, improve your mental health education, and acquire valuable resources for optimizing your well-being. And visit emotionwellness.com for more information.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Emotion Wellness Podcast. I'm here with my brother, and the main star of the show right here is Jason Turner.
What's up, buddy? Thanks.
And I got like the most amazing guests for our viewers today, all the way from Canada. Wow, bro. Jared Maynard. Maynard is how we pronounce the last name?
You got it, man. You got it.
Oh, man.
Hey,
dude.
real quick, we're going to give you an opportunity to tell everybody how to get a hold of you later, but I think it'd be really cool to give everyone your Instagram handle right now. So if you're listening to this, like I would say, go to this handle, look at some of these photographs.
Yes.
And then
watch the show.
And watch the show.
While you're watching the show, go to Jared's Instagram. Jared, tell them your Instagram while we start this off. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Jared.rebuild_stronger. So come on over, come check it out. And we're about to get into all sorts of stuff. And I hope it serves everybody listening.
Yes, dude. You are, first of all, I have to just tell you that you, for me, my brother, were a huge inspiration for me when I came out of the hospital. I appreciate you putting your story out there on social media, because it gave me the inspiration that I needed, bro, you know, and for the past, like, I guess, however long that we've been following each other and been in touch with each other. It's been over a year now, man. Yes. I just got to give you your respect. I have massive amounts of admiration for you, respect for you, bro, and you're just a true inspiration. And what I want to do is kind of give you the platform right now and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located. Give us a little background about Jared. Where does he come from? And then we kind of want to get into the story of like kind of what led to what happened and where you're at now, you know?
And before we get started, man, I just have to say real quick, for me, this is the first time I bet Frank and I we go back and he and I are really, really tight. And I've watched him. I mean, I was on the phone with him the day he found out about his heart and like kind of, you know, from the get. To hear him talk about someone who gave him inspiration is like, that's a whole new experience for me, right? So really want to thank you there because you did something for somebody that I care a lot about, you know, so that just hit me right now that, you know, that you had someone.
I did, brother.
He's been given to a lot of people since he got out of the hospital, but to hear that someone gave to him is cool. So.
Man, I love you, brother. Yeah, man. We're very emotional here, bro. We're Emotion Wellness. So, like, we're men that show I love you for that, bro, because I feel his emotion. That's what this is about. I love it. Absolutely. I love it.
The world needs more of that, honestly. Yes. Thank you both, Frank and Jason, for first having me on, and Frank for saying that, because, yeah, you're right. It has been over a year that we've been following each other, and shoot, dude, you have just an incredibly powerful story. So to know that I had any role in, you know, helping or adding fuel to the fire as you're impacting and serving people, that's incredible. So my name's Jared. I'm a physiotherapist by trade. I'm a powerlifting coach. I'm coming from the frozen tundra of Canada, a little west of Toronto, a couple hours there. I live out in the country, middle of nowhere. Like, we're talking horse and buggy. This is where I'm at.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, dude. It's honestly really awesome. I had to get used to it, though, because I grew up in a big city, like the city just west of Toronto. So over the last, I don't know, 10 plus years, I've moved from like slightly large city to slightly smaller city. And then all of a sudden, like, my wife comes from the country. This is her jam. She grew up like this. So I had to get used to it. But it's nice out here. It's nice. I have three beautiful wife, her name's Ashley, and then three beautiful little girls who keep me on my toes and growing way too fast. I'm involved with education, especially when it comes to physical therapists, chiropractors, people in the rehab space, as well as strength coaches, people involved in getting people stronger, which plays into my story, in an unexpected way, but a really big way, over the last few years. I'm just a massive nerd. If you talk about anything Star Wars related, we're going to be talking all day long. Love me some coffee, some craft beer. Yeah, man. Thinking about getting into writing and, starting to open some doors in terms of speaking, right? With platforms like your guys, which again, I'm grateful for you guys inviting me on, because I just feel more and more called and convicted to try to serve people and share what experiences I have and any knowledge or thoughts that could motivate people, because we all go through hard times, to put it lightly. Sometimes it's extreme, like about Frank, and I know in a different way. But I think one thing that we're all guaranteed in life is hardship. So if we can build each other up and help each other get through that, I think it's a pretty damn cool thing.
I agree, brother. I agree, man. Beautiful said. Let me ask you, Jared. How long have you been powerlifting?
I've been powerlifting since 2014. And I tell you what, man, I did so many things wrong along the way. Like, I would not consider myself a gifted powerlifter, or currently a particularly good one, just by the numbers. But that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about working with whether people who want to be competitive in powerlifting, or people who just want to get strong for themselves, their health, their family, for whatever. Because I've done a lot of the stupid stuff, and I want to try to save people from the headaches that I caused for myself along the way,
I hear that. So let me ask you this, Jared. How old are you, by the way? I didn't even ask you that. How old are you?
Yeah, 34, going to be 35 later this year.
35. And you have 3 daughters?
3 daughters, yeah. We started with twins, because apparently why start small,
I love that, man. So I guess take us through, brother, like, because I don't know the full story, man. I just know that you had, why don't you take the listeners through kind of like what you've battled with, overcome. And I really want to dive in that experience, because I don't want to give it away. But like your mindset, what is your mindset through all this been as well? But kind of go into the story, because I don't really know anything about autoimmune disease or anything like that. Like, how did that come about? Just, I guess, educate the listeners on your resilience, man, and what you've had to face and now overcome.
Yeah. I mean, it really started, the story starts out of the blue. So we're going back to the January 2nd of 2023. So my wife, my daughters, and I, we were over at my parents', had a good New Year's Day visit, came back home. I started feeling a bit sick. It was cold and flu season. I didn't think too much of it, because my wife and daughters had the same thing, kind of fatigue, started to feel a little feverish, not a big deal. But a week later, they're all better, and I'm starting to get worse. So things continue. Fever and chills get worse and more noticeable. Definitely more fatigued. I still thought, okay, this seems just like a bad flu. It's hanging on for longer than expected for me, right? And then I got some really bad sinus pressure, and it was enough to make me want to go in and see my doctor. So my doctor was off, saw the nurse practitioner. She and I both thought it sounded like a sinus infection. The symptoms fit. So got some antibiotics, got a nasal spray, went back home. And then the next few days, things kept getting worse, and weirdly so. Started having insomnia, which I'd never had before. My lymph nodes in my neck and my shoulders started getting really swollen, where I rolled my fingers along there, and it felt like a little mountain range. It's kind of how it felt or seemed to me. So decided I needed to go in, see somebody else. Went into a small emergency room in a hospital not far from where we're at, because again, we live out in the middle of nowhere. And they diagnosed me there as having mononucleosis, the kissing disease. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I've never had mono. My wife's never had mono. No idea where I picked it up. but okay. So they gave me medicine for the insomnia so I could try to get some sleep. It didn't really help. And then 3 days later, I'm still getting worse. And my wife looks at me in the morning and she just says, "You're yellow." And we look at each other for a second and we're like, this is bad. You know, because I know that this means my liver's doing some not so good things. It's starting to shut down. So we go to the bigger hospital. It's a little further away, but we knew we needed just more facilities to figure out what the heck was going on. Also, just so I know for you guys as I go, do you guys try to avoid cussing, or if some cusses?
No, but you speak how you want, my brother.
No, man. You do you, brother.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we get to the larger hospital, and one thing that always stands out to me in this memory is getting out of the van and trying to walk into the ER, and that was a struggle. And guys, the context for me is I've been powerlifting since 2014, but I've been involved in sports starting with martial arts when I was like 12, 13. Then it was football. Then I've always been in the gym, always lifting, always feeling, you know, strong, fit, capable, that sort of thing. And just the struggle to walk into the ER, which was probably like, what, 50 yards, maybe less. That was scary. And then the nurse doing the triage, she takes my blood pressure, my heart rate. My heart rate's in the 160s, 170s. My blood pressure spiked. And like, we know something's wrong. So get admitted to the hospital that night. And this is where my memory starts to get blurry, because I was dealing with delirium. And I do remember they put me on oxygen because my blood oxygen levels weren't good. And then it was this almost constant stream of doctors and nurses and specialists coming in to try to ask me questions. And the whole process began trying to figure out what the hell was actually going on here.
Yeah.
My wife told me later, because she was by my side most of the time. My parents and my wife were the ones who dropped everything and like took shifts from basically this point onwards. And my wife told me that one of the scariest moments for her in this whole ordeal was seeing me, like I'm about 5'11 and a half, I weigh about 194 pounds going into this, and seeing her big, strong husband, who she's used to seeing lift hundreds of pounds on a daily basis in the basement, too weak to get up and go to the bathroom. Like I needed help and sit on a wheeling commode to go to the bathroom, and like I had accidents. I pissed myself because I started losing control of my bodily functions, and I didn't have an orientation as to what was going on. And it was this mad dash to try to figure out what is going on. So 6 days later from the initial admission, I was now in the ICU and on life support. And at this point, we had the diagnosis of something called HLH. It was explained to me later, after the coma for 5 weeks, which I'll get to in a sec, that it was kind of like an autoimmune disease. It's not a true autoimmune disease. It's a hyperinflammatory syndrome is what they call it. But basically what it is it can be genetic. It's usually in newborns or infants, or it can be caused by an infection, cancer, or a different autoimmune disease. And mine was caused by an infection, the mononucleosis. And it causes your immune system to just go haywire and to attack healthy cells, especially your red blood cells. Leads to multiple organ failure, liver, kidneys, spleen. I had all of that. The mortality rate is pretty staggering too. Depending on the source that you're looking at, 57% of people aren't going to make it if it's not treated quickly enough. And even so, you get attention. There's no guarantees that way. So we're talking about like slightly worse odds than a coin flip as to whether I make it back home to my wife and my daughters. So we knew what it was. We knew it was bad. And I was in the nosedive of my condition, and they put me on life support. So I was on a ventilator. They sedated me super heavily because they needed to do what they needed to do and to monitor me. So I was essentially in a medically induced coma. I had dialysis because my kidneys had failed. I had that continuously for multiple weeks. I had a tube down my nose, down to my stomach, so that they could try to give me medicine. And as you'd expect, if I'm in a coma, I can't eat or drink or do anything like that. So they try to give me nutrition. Can't give me very much because my body's so wrecked by the HLH, which is completely ravaging me. And then add to this that the treatment for HLH is chemotherapy, it's corticosteroids, it's treating all the infections that you get by just being in the hospital in the ICU for an extended period of time. And I got a ton of them. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there's a skin graft on my left arm from an IV that malfunctioned one time.
You had that too, brother?
You had that?
On my arm?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, wow, you too, bro.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Yeah, they noticed that. I forget when in the 5 weeks, but instead of the medicine going into the vein and going throughout the body, it stayed where it wasn't supposed to and killed.
Bro, it's the same thing. They messed my arm up too. Look.
Bro, I didn't know that part. That's wild, dude.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, as soon as he said it, I was like, damn.
Look at that.
Jeez. So you had to have a skin graft and all that?
From my leg, yeah.
Same here. Which leg?
From your thigh?
Yeah.
Your left thigh?
No, my right thigh. That's the
All right. Dude, we gotta hang out. You gotta come to my house.
That's eerily
I love you, bro. I'm about to start crying here with you.
Hey, man.
I feel you so much. I don't want to stop you, but I feel you, Jared. Like, I feel you so much, bro. You're a warrior, brother. I don't want to stop you.
So weird, man. And I appreciate that. So there's this whole downhill slide and nosedive where we're trying to treat the HLH. I can't get the full dose of chemo. Like, it's a day by day or hour by hour call that the pharmacists and the doctors have to make, because if they give me the full dose, like, I can't handle it. Chemo's toxic. It does what it's supposed to do, but it's fucking brutal. So they can't give me the whole thing. I'm getting worse. And by about 3 or 4 weeks in, excuse me, we're down to the last treatment. Chemo, corticosteroids, monoclonal antibodies, and the hematologist. I had a whole team of doctors and nurses working together, and I'm eternally grateful to all of them. The hematologist, Dr. Martin, she's incredible. She was the one who was leading the charge and heading up the team. And my parents were on shift that night in the ICU, and she brings them over and talks to them and says, "Hey, look, we're going to do this thing. This last treatment is the particular brand of monoclonal antibodies." And then she's like, and then his body's going to do what it's going to do. And then to finish the conversation, she walks off. And the charge nurse who overhears this conversation comes up to my parents after and says, "Hold up. It's important that you understand what she just said. There's nothing else we can do after this." And they did it. And I kept getting worse. It's to the point where they were telling my parents and my wife, like, "Hey, look, you got to start prepping to say goodbye to him this week." And like, I've heard from my parents and my wife about how this was, how heartbreaking and terrifying and, you know, out of control this whole thing was.
Fucking crazy.
Faith plays a big role in our lives, and through all of this, there was tons of prayer being offered, and I found out later by not only friends and family, but people who I had never met, you know, in Canada, in the States, in India, in Ireland, just this wave of people who know people who know people who heard the story and just like start, you know, praying and offering stuff up. And I mentioned that because at this point, I have no business getting better and coming out of the nosedive. Last treatment's been given. They're essentially prepping to just make me comfortable until my body's all done. And, you know, miraculously, I start to stabilize to the point where, as I stabilized more and came out of sedation, like, I earned the nickname Miracle Man from some of the doctors and nurses who like saw the whole thing go down. And like these are medical folks. They're the people of science, you know.
Yeah.
So that was our family's miracle. And so I started to stabilize. And then as I stabilized, and I wasn't good. I wasn't in a good way, but we weren't getting actively worse the same way we were before. So they started to take me off sedation. And through this period of time, I don't have clear memories. I have really weird memories of dreams, which I have to understand are just my brain's way of processing all that was going on through the drugs and as my body was just in this battle, this epic battle. So I start to come out of sedation and start to gain my bearings and understand like where I'm at. But as I do that, I remember going into the hospital and being admitted and weighing 194 pounds and still having muscle on my frame and all that. And I wake up and I'm 150 pounds. I'm skin and bones.
Fucking crazy.
I have no hair. I'm literally strapped to the bed because under some of the drugs I got paranoid and like started ripping out my tubes, so they had to restrain me. And even after the restraints came off, I was too weak to fucking do anything. Like I couldn't sit up. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I was entirely dependent on people to do everything for me. Catheter, if I had to take a shit, that meant somebody had to put a bedpan under me. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I couldn't even talk because the ventilator went from my mouth to my throat. They had to do a tracheotomy because they can't leave it down your throat for longer than a certain period of time for complications' sake. So, on one hand, the absolute blessing of not being dead, and then this progressive horror of understanding, holy shit, I'm not in my body. My left arm's all blackened from the IV. And again, I'm trained as a physio. So the upside is like I could start to understand what was happening. The downside is I could understand what was happening. You know what I mean? So this was the beginning of really where the mental battle began, or battles. And I was overjoyed seeing my wife and my parents and being able to start to try to communicate with them, even though I couldn't talk, I couldn't write because my hand was tremoring and I couldn't actually produce any legible penmanship. And at the same time, I started to understand how long this road was going to be on the way back. And at the same time, the decision was easy in one sense, where it's like, I'm not dead. I'm still breathing. So I got to fight. I got to get back home. And so I was 5 weeks on life support. And I was in the hospital a total of 3.5 months. So we started the process of gradually taking me off of oxygen, making sure that my body could handle that. Learning to speak with a valve. Like you see whether in TV shows or movies, like people talking through a valve, and we kind of make fun of that, but like that was me. The physio team came in and we just worked on sitting up and me not passing the fuck out right afterwards. And then it was standing. Like part of my physical training was they had to use a lift, a mechanical lift in the ceiling, which they use for transporting patients who can't move themselves, and maybe the nursing staff needs some assistance moving. They'd use the lift to get me into a chair, and just the physical act of sitting up like this, like we're talking right now, I could only handle that for about like 10-15 minutes at a time before I was just exhausted because my body was so deconditioned. So that's what we started with. And then learning to stand and I could stand for 5 seconds and I had to sit back down. And I could stand for 10. And the experience of like, if you, either of you guys or anybody listening, like, God willing, you're in, generally good shape and you've got full control of your body, excuse me. The experience of not having control anymore, or standing and trying to get your body to go up on your toes and just do a little heel raise, but nothing happening, was really scary and so, otherworldly almost. And so you can imagine, I mean, like, through all of this, this is now my reality, where I live in the hospital. I'm away from my family. My business, I've been self-employed for, I forget how many years now, 6 or so. So my business, I don't know how that's doing. I have to get up to speed on that. There's so many unknowns, and it's oh my gosh, overwhelming. So that's why I say on one hand, it was easy to decide, okay, as long as I've got breath in my lungs, I'm going to keep fighting and doing what I can. And then also to be hit by these waves of, holy crap, there's so much to do. Am I going to make it? And it had to come down to, honestly, a day by day and sometimes hour by hour decision of like, I just have to do the next thing in front of me. That's the only thing I got to do right now. So that's what we did. And there were some days where my body was racking up a fever and it was 2 weeks, so I had to rest, which for me, all of my life is like a textbook, now recovering perfectionist, type A, go-getter, oldest of 5 kids. Like, I'm used to working and I'm used to go. Like, you rest when the job's done. And one of my mentors, dear friend and mentor, also happens to be named Frank. It's a good name.
Yeah.
He told me, hey, look, man, your problem's not going to be working. Your challenge will be resting. And you got to plug the phone into the wall every now and then.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful he told me that, because that put me in the right frame of mind to not only work, but also rest. To work more.
Yes.
Later. Sustainably. Yes. So that's what we did, day after day. And as I stabilized more, I moved from the most intense ICU to the less intense ICU, and then eventually up to the cancer ward. HLH is not cancer, but it follows a cancer-like progression, and that's where I spent the most time. And I remember being overwhelmed with gratitude for all the people who, one, physically came to see me. My wife and my parents, again, were the absolute rock stars. Colleagues from work, they stopped by. People who couldn't come to the hospital, they stopped by my house and made sure that my wife and daughters had food in the freezer. They filled it up with, like, donations that people at work and other friends gave them. Excuse me. I got to share this one moment with my kids, because this was still in the ICU. And
yeah, when was that like, Jared? Like, when was the first time that they saw you? Like, what was that like, brother?
It was in March. So I was in the coma essentially all through February. Started to come out late February, early March. And Ashley had to explain to my daughters why Daddy didn't come home.
Yeah.
She told them early on. She kept them, up to speed. And granted, my daughters, I went into the hospital. I was admitted the day before my twins' 5th birthday. So they were 5. My youngest was 2 at the time. So Ashley had to make this work for 5-year-old and 2-year-old minds. She had to tell them that Daddy, who had the big beard going in, like, he doesn't have any hair anymore. His beard's not there. My daughter, Mary Claire, one of my twins, she's very analytical sometimes. So Ashley says, yeah, Daddy doesn't have his beard anymore. And Mary Claire's just like, but where did it go? And Ashley's like, yeah, it just fell out. And that wasn't good enough. No. Mary Claire, where did it go? She needed to know the logistics, the specifics of what happened to my facial hair. But yeah, the first time they came to see me was in March.
Wow. So that was like 3 months.
It was, yeah, I went in January 23rd, early March. So this would have been over a month for sure. 3.5 months total, but and so I came in, or excuse me, they came in through a service who arranged the whole thing. And I remember that day really well, actually, because I knew they were coming. Bro, I was fucking terrified.
I know.
Because, like...
I know.
I look nothing...
I know.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And so the nurses, God bless them, they covered up as many of the machines and the hoses as they could, because it's an intimidating place.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then I'm sitting up in the chair. They cover my blackened hand with some mesh so that it's not as easy to see. And like they try to pretty me up. And then I'm sitting in the chair and I hear the little of the boots coming through. And then they're there in the door with Ashley, my wife, and some of the volunteers. And they're just looking at me. And I know they're scared of me. I mean, how could they not be? I've been through hell and I don't look like the dad they're used to. And they're not ready to come to me yet, which is completely fine. So they took him off to the side. They had a little area where they do activities and crafts. And my daughter Ellie, one of my other twin, she's the first one to come back. This little 5-year-old girl with a mask, and like you could tell she's timid, but she sees me. She comes over. She holds my hand and she starts just crawling up and just cuddling, and I fucking lose it, man.
Yeah.
She told me later, it's like, yeah, I was scared. You looked scary, but I knew you were still my daddy.
Oh man.
So it was painful and still so restorative to have my little girl there and to know that she knew that it's still me. And my other daughters, they came back and they came a little closer, but Ellie was the first one to come and give me that hug, And then they came back for some more regular visits and started to get more used to how I was doing, especially as I started to look a little bit more healthy. So we go through this whole process, man, and like I'm doing PT damn near every day. And I had one of the last PTs I had, she was cool. She was like a drill sergeant, which I really needed. She was with me, and we were learning to walk with the walker first, and then a different walker, and then a cane. And through all this, like I'm better than I was, but I'm not healthy by any standards. So we start to decide, like, where do we go from here? Because one option was going home, but I had to be healthy enough to go there and not make my wife a full-time nurse.
Yeah.
I couldn't need her to take care of me like they could in the hospital.
Right.
The other option was like an inpatient rehab facility where you're more stable than you would be at the main hospital, but you still need some more intense rehab before you go home. So we were looking at both options, and the only reason why I didn't go to the rehab facility is because I was honest with the doctors who were taking care of me at the time, and I'm so glad I had really good ones who were open and honest and asked me, like, how are you feeling? And I was on antidepressants because I was so homesick at this point. I'm like, I understand the reasons why physically it would be helpful. Mentally, I don't think I can hack it.
Yeah.
I need to go home.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And it was May 1st. It was actually the day that I had my skin graft, was the day that I got discharged. They crammed it in just before I left. But my wife came to pick me up from the hospital. And I'm wounded, not just from the skin graft surgery, but lying in the hospital bed in the ICU. I had a pressure sore right on my tailbone, and an infection and a wound in my leg. So like I had to change those bandages. My wife pushes me out of the hospital in a wheelchair. I vomit 3 times on the way home from the chemo, and we make it home. And being home doesn't mean I'm out of the woods yet, because there's a lot of recovery. There's still a lot of work to do. But I was at least home with my wife and with my daughters, which was a win. So, I'm nearly through the story here, and the next few months through May, through June, they were hard to keep going in terms of my physical rehab, like doing the exercises. And these are all things that I know, because again, I'm a physio, like I've been trained on this stuff, but it's always different when it's you. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you're going through that sort of stuff. So by God's grace, again, through the work that I do, I run a strength coaching company, working with powerlifters and people who want to get strong. One of my coaches, his name is Dave. He's also a physical therapist. He works with people in this situation, and he was willing to step in when I told him, "Hey, look, man, I know the things I have to do. I need someone to help me and hold me accountable, because I'm not ready to do this for myself just yet." And he was willing to step in and help me with that. So we kept working, doing the sit to stands, doing the yellow band exercises, light weights and stuff. And eventually, about a month after I got home, I was ready to finally come down to my basement where I've got my gym set up, and wasn't lifting weights, those big weights anymore, or yet. Yeah. Still the small stuff, but I was back in the environment. Yeah. Kept doing that, and eventually I could use the empty barbell, start doing some exercises. And over the next few months, it kept being this process of like, just the rehab started to look a little more like what I was doing before for training. And then after Dave, my business partner, John, he's an elite powerlifter and powerlifting coach, he stepped in and helped that process too. And I was gaining back some muscle. Right? I lost 40 pounds on life support, and thank God I had it, because the doctors told me unless I had that muscle and was as strong and fit as I was, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you.
Same with me, brother.
How much of your physical training, right, your lifestyle choices prior to this incident were responsible or helped you in your recovery and survival?
Yeah, massively responsible for my survival. I mean, you can't exclude the miracle that, again, we experienced, because I had no business turning around like that. And in addition to that, multiple doctors told me, "Hey, look, if you weren't as strong and as fit as you were, you wouldn't make it." Yeah. I remember one nurse in one of the units after the most intense ICU, where it was one of those days where I was getting put up in the lift to sit in the chair, and that was my rehab. I think when I was sitting up, I was brushing my teeth, and the nurse said, "Your dexterity is one of the reasons why you're going to do well here and better than other people." So the whole journey that I've had in my life, I grew up as a fat kid who was not active at all, had no self-confidence, didn't play sports because I was always picked last, all this stuff, to my parents finally finding martial arts, which I took to, probably because I grew up watching Power Rangers and loved beating things up, to then football in high school, and then lifting weights and all of these things, and eventually powerlifting. This was essentially me paying premiums on a life support policy or life insurance policy I didn't know I'd have to take out one day.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, brother.
Jared, on another note, so there's this your physical well-being prior to the incident or the diagnosis and your journey. What about how much of the training and the lifestyle that you lived prior to supported a mindset that you see that you were going to need in this process as well, right? Because I imagine the mindset and the story that you're telling yourself, and I have so many, I'm curious about so much, but I'm going to leave that one there for now, and then I have a couple more that I want to ask you about. But
I think it played a huge role. Even prior to all this, I'll say it this way. These days, I talk a lot about how strength saves lives. And before it saved my life this way, it transformed it too. Because as I started lifting weights for football, I wanted to be bigger and stronger on the field. So I started training and realized I liked how I felt in the gym. It was really cool. Like, I could see that progress. It was calm and safe. So no matter what was going on in my life, this was like an oasis. It was, the bar was always 45 pounds. Put 2 plates on each side, it's always 225. And then it teaches you a lot about discipline and consistency. Teaches you a lot about how to fail and then still come back for more.
Absolutely. So that's the thing, I think, for our listeners we're small but mighty. That's how we like to describe ourselves. At least at this point. But our listeners are seeking our services for mental health and generally like substance use issues, and that the persona and the self-concept for most substance use people who are addicted, rooted in shame, low self-esteem, and oftentimes shun away from things that are really difficult. And I think people think it looks like, oh, you're just scared to fail. And there's accuracy in that. But when you dial in on why am I scared to fail? Because my identity is externally validated. And if I can't perform, then who am I? Right.
Yes.
And so what you just said, we use fitness as an intervention for mental health, is this idea of how do I get okay with stumbling?
Yes.
Not, and I imagine that was probably the most beneficial part of this process for you, because going from if you described yourself as the alpha perfectionistic sort of, I don't think you use the term alpha, but like perfectionistic, like go-getter. And now you're the one that has to depend on so much down to, and I've talked to Frank about this a lot, right? Where down to like bodily functions, right? I go from this provider to, I would guess it feels on par with helpless. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
That's how far from me.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. The experience, not knowing that I would have it put front and center and experience it this particular way going through HLH, but being able to take risks and recognize that the things that I was chasing in the gym, building more muscle, a stronger body, a bigger squat, bench, deadlift, whatever it was. Okay, cool. I'm not there yet, which requires me to do things that are going to push me and get me out of my comfort zone. And I'm not going to get it on the first try, probably. So I have to be okay with that. And I have to step up to the bar, take my shot, and when it doesn't go the way I hope that it's going to go, recognize that's not a reflection or an accurate representation of who I am. I'm not a failure in that. Did I fail the lift? Sure. But like, the lift isn't me. It's something that I'm choosing to do, and that's going to change me over time. And that's the thing that I also really resonates, and what I've been thinking about a lot these days is the outcome. It's not just about the numbers. I'm still thinking and talking about the gym and training here, but it applies, I think, pretty universally. There's the outcome, and like, that's awesome. You hit, a 500-pound deadlift for the first time, and that's great. The process to get there has changed you physically in some ways, for sure, but also mentally. Like, you feel different. You look at yourself differently, and you probably have more to give to yourself, to the people in your life that you care about the most. You can say yes to more things. You're willing to take shots that you wouldn't before. And you guys would know about this the best, probably, but like, you're willing to start to shed old pieces of your identity and craft the newer one that you have always wanted to be, or that maybe even just uncover the thing that was covered up before.
Yeah. I think the last part for me is what I see with myself and also the clients I get to work with. You're chipping away at all the stuff that's been collected through a life of maybe hurt, disappointment. We didn't have someone to help us understand why things were happening to us when we were young, or we perceived things a certain way. So these things have collected on us. It's almost like a bunch of stuff is like collected on our external body, and we're just chipping away at it, right? And so what's underneath is the most authentic version of the person. And usually it's familiar, right? It's like, oh, I remember this person. I remember being this way.
Yeah.
Love that. Absolutely love that, man. So, yeah, the mental resiliency, the discipline, even just the ability to endure, that was built up over the years under the bar, doing all these different things, ended up being so critical for me through this process, and still now. Before all this, when I got married, like I got a wedding ring that's knurled like a barbell, because the process of being under the bar and training has changed me. It's made me a better man and husband and father, and these are all things that I'm far from perfect at, but still keep working at. And yeah, it's been essential. And through that process, you know, over it ended up being, you know, between 12 to 14 months, I think. Actually, a little over a year, sorry, was the first powerlifting competition that I got back to after leaving the hospital. It was
I saw that, dude.
4th.
I saw that on social, man. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
It was a perfect day as far as powerlifting competitions go. Made all 9 lifts, and we had an idea of what numbers I was going to shoot for. But for me, it was all about gratitude. One of my best friends from one of the cities I lived in after PT school, he came out to coach me on the day, so I just got to focus on lifting the bar. It was the first time that my daughters got to come and like see me lift. So on my second squat, they got the announcer with the microphone and all that, and he just came up to my family. It was very obvious where my family was, my wife and my daughters, and they're all cheering. Put the mic in front of Ellie's mouth, and all I hear as I'm getting under the bars, like, "Go, Dad, go!"
Oh, man.
I mean, I already had caffeine in me, but golly, I didn't need any more after that, you know?
Yeah.
And
Did you get it?
I got it.
Yeah, of course you did.
That's right. I had to.
I know.
So, finished the day and actually ended up with a lifetime PR on the deadlift of 501. I had
Wow, bro.
And
501, and in 2023, you were fighting for your life, brother. Oh, bro.
So it was,
let's go, bro. I love you, dude. I cried I cried for like 20 minutes. Like,
sorry, but also not sorry. I love you too, man.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, man, I'm so grateful for that. And I had another competition later that year in August and hit another lifetime PR of 507.
Wow.
And like, I went into those, again, really with more gratitude than I'd ever had before.
Yeah.
Just knowing that, like, I was not guaranteed to be there.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the phrase memento mori, you know, from Stoicism. Remember that you must die, right? Yeah. I got it tattooed on my arm after all this. And I'm not going to lie. I forget about that sometimes and still get caught up in the BS and the things that seem super important, but aren't going to matter in a week, let alone 5 years. But, you know, having these moments to try to come back and anchor to the things that actually do matter and the people who matter and how I want to spend the time that I have, the unknown amount of time that we all have.
Yeah.
We all think we've got time.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes we go through these crises like you have and like I have, and we realize like, okay, unknown number on the clock, and like nothing's really promised past today. So it's something I'm still working on, trying to live intentionally, you know?
Yeah.
What's something that stands out to you that you learned as a result of this experience?
I think the biggest one for me, and maybe anybody who resonates with being a recovering perfectionist, the type A, do it all by yourself, I don't need to ask for anybody's help, I'll figure it out, I'm good. Whether it's rooted in whatever it's rooted in, insecurity, guilt, shame, our upbringings, things like that. I learned that life is going to be hard enough on its own, and it doesn't need to be made any harder by being prideful or stupid and refusing or turning away help when it's offered.
Man.
Yeah. My other curious sort of thoughts are around the relationship with your wife. So obviously sounds like you guys have something special. You went through a lot. Was there an initial, you talked about, naturally when your daughters see you, there's a little bit of hesitation based on some changes. So you took a dramatic change in who you were individually because of the inability to be the strong one, a bit of a role reversal almost, or like, kind of experiencing yourself differently. Was there a moment or periods in the beginning where you just didn't want to be seen, and there was a like leaning into almost pushing away? I imagine like I would want to push away from the people that are super, I don't want you to see me this way. And how did you navigate that?
100% there was. I wanted to hide. And I did hide, not so much from my wife and from my parents, although as I came to after the sedation and I realized how I looked and what was going on and how different I was, and I felt like I woke up in somebody else's body. Yeah, there was shame. There was, don't look at me, because I'm not who I remember being. I'm not who I want to be, and I don't want you to remember me this way. It didn't. That feeling was there, but it was overpowered very quickly by just gratitude and like a desire and almost just an abandonment to having people who were familiar and who loved me in this really unfamiliar, terrifying environment. People who were part of the inner circle, And then the process for me started with when I could speak again after learning how to speak, getting the valve out and the trach and all that stuff, starting to call people. And I didn't sound like myself. I was much more garbled. I was having a bit of a lisp, and these are just all normal things that happen after you go through all that stuff. But I was very self-conscious of it. And still, I stuck with the inner circle, the friends who've been friends for 10 years plus, and just started to call them and talk to them. Which was a step forward. It felt like a step into the spotlight a little bit, but a gradual exposure. And it was tough, but it was good. When I got home, a large part of what I do for marketing for the business is involving social media. That was where I hid the most and for the longest, because I wasn't ready, honestly, to show where I was. And I knew people were pulling for me. I knew there was so much gratitude. I knew people wanted to know how I was doing, but it took me a minute to get to the point where I was ready to pull back the curtain and just like let that happen. So I think the process for me was being real with where I was and recognizing the resistance, also recognizing where I needed to go, that I couldn't just be an island and isolate myself. That was not going to go well or go for long. And then just eventually, when I was closer to ready, make the leap and start sharing more about where I'm at with the journey, and start reconnecting with more people. And it was this gradual process over time. But yeah, it was tough.
It's incredible, man. I appreciate you allowing me to explore that curiosity a bit.
Of course, man. My hope with all of what we've talked about so far is like, if anybody listening is going through your own version of this, your own trial, tribulation, hellscape, whatever it is, if you feel like you're not ready to be seen, or like you're weighted down and you are not who you want to be, and the road ahead seems winding and long and insurmountable, first and foremost, like my hope is that you know and like hear from these words that we're sharing together that like you're not alone. You really are not. And when you're ready, opening yourself up to receiving help wherever it is. And I'm not going to pretend like I know everybody's circumstances and like it's not hard. I acknowledge that for sure. But I also know there are people out here, like the three of us talking, that want to help and are willing to help. And sometimes just having a conversation and a kind word and affirmation can be enough to keep going when the belief, you may not have enough for yourself, but other people can carry the belief for you for a bit.
Yeah. Beautiful, brother. Absolutely beautiful.
I go into like, I take a lot of action. So I'm thinking about what would there be an interest for you in coming out to visit our facility, putting on a powerlifting workshop, and then giving you a microphone and sharing parts of your story and your mindset and the resiliency with a group of people who would instantly recognize all the things that Frank and I are recognizing, and it would certainly resonate with them. So I'm thinking about that would be a really cool event.
So cool.
I'd be honored. I'd absolutely.
You stay right at my house, bro. Your whole family.
Hell yeah.
I have 2 bedrooms upstairs. You have your whole living room up there, the kids, everything. That is.
I believe you, man. I'm very grateful for that and the invitation. I would love to. Like, let's absolutely talk about it. And see
we're doing it.
Happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'll be transparent too in terms of like my next phase of challenge after HLH2, which is I've got a genetic eye condition. It's called choroideremia or CHM. So it's progressive, it's incurable, and it does lead to blindness. I bring that up, and it's related to HLH because usually it's a slow progression, and up until like 40s or so, and then it starts to progress faster. It has an underlying inflammatory mechanism. HLH is a hyperinflammatory disease. They're both rare, so I won the rare disease lottery twice. Not the lottery I wanted to play, but anyway, it's accelerated for me. So all it means is I'm legally blind now. If I'm looking right at you, we're good to go, and I am still coaching people and stuff. So it wouldn't affect too much the ability to put on an event and hopefully serve people that way. But maybe we could talk about me roping in my business partner John, who he and I were 2 of the 3 who put on the powerlifting seminar in Austin actually last November. So anyway, I'll just being transparent and working on being transparent of like these next challenges for me, and then also, like I said, I've got to practice what I preach. Not being closed off to help and asking for help where I need it. So
we'll make it happen however it needs to, my friend.
Yeah, brother.
So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sounds good to me.
You are just like an incredible human being, bro. I am so grateful to know you. I'm so grateful that you came on our show today. I mean,
it was a great experience to witness.
Yeah, man. You give me so much inspiration, Jared. Like, you're a savage, bro. Your daughters are like so, as hard as it is, bro, that they watch us go through that. My son sees the resilience. Your daughters see the resilience, and being able to show them that even at a young age, as hard as it is for them, that's an imprint in their mind that like we can overcome too, man. And it's just a beautiful thing. As hard as it's been for both of us, these challenges, it's also a beautiful thing because of the resilience, brother, because of your faith, because of your mindset, because of your resilience. You never tapped out, bro, and you're out here serving. You helped to serve to me just by putting yourself out there on Instagram. You gave me massive inspiration when I came out of the hospital, so I just give you so much love, gratitude. I am so grateful for you, brother, for coming on our show today, participating in this. I have just so much love for you, man. Seriously.
Thank you, brother. I receive it. I give that love and gratitude right back to you, Frank, and you, Jason. Like, thank you for, like, Frank first connecting all the way back when we did, and thanks for the invite to come on here. And it's an honor for me. I appreciate the trust, and again, I hope that everybody listening, there was something that we touched on that serves you and that you carry forward today. And if there's ever anything that I can do to help anybody listening, any conversations you want to have, questions that you've got, I'm an open book.
I love that, man.
Appreciate it, man. Really, really grateful for this opportunity to talk with you. Would you do myself and Frank a favor and the people listening and just do you have a website as well as your Instagram? Would you just repeat
everything? Where we can find you, because we want everyone to come follow you, bro. We want everyone to come see you, your coaching. Tell us all about everything that you have going on, where they can find you. Let's go.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram, so jared.rebuild_stronger. Our website is rebuildstrongeronline.com. You can come check us out in terms of services and stuff. But if you want to come talk to me, you want to see more about the journey, what I'm up to, and if there's any content that I'm posting that could serve you, yeah, Instagram's going to be the place. Working on a few different things as far as, maybe some writing, some speaking, some other events for later this year. But for right now, it's the focus is on serving the people that are trusting us to help get them stronger in our company. It's called Rebuild Stronger, if you haven't figured. And hopefully spreading the message and some inspiration and some motivation for folks. So that's where I'm at.
Incredible. Well, we will do our best to get the word out, man.
You're an incredible human being, brother. I love you.
Thank you for connecting with us on today's episode of the Emotion Podcast, where we discuss all things mental health. Connect every week as we explore incredibly intimate stories of persistence and hope. Delve into mental health education and explore valuable resources. Available on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And visit emotionwellness.com for more information.